Hey guys, Mr. Kruger here talking about the quadratic forms that you need to know. There are 3 forms, and I really want you to have that big white sheet of paper in front of you that shows us how we can get from standard form to vertex form to factored form. Okay, so these are the 3 forms. And this worksheet is actually going to cover everything you're going to see on the mini quiz when you come back from the long weekend after park testing. Okay, so let's walk through each type of thing. The first thing that every question asks about is the information that you get from the standard form. The first is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is always the constant. Because this is a -7, the y-intercept is 0, comma, -7. Okay, the next thing is the opening direction. Remember, that's all about the lead coefficient. So because the lead coefficient is positive, we know the opening direction is up. And now, to find the other information, we need to rewrite in vertex form to get the vertex, and then rewrite in factored form to get the x-intercepts. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to rewrite this first step, x squared minus 6x plus a blank, minus 7 plus another blank. And I need to figure out what goes in this blank. So I'm going to take the b value, which is -6, take -6 over 2, quantity squared, always, whatever the b value is. So I simplify what's inside the parentheses, and I get -3 squared, which equals a positive 9. So that is what goes in the blank. But remember, when I add a 9, I also need to subtract a 9, because I don't want it to really change the value of this. So now I can factor this first expression right here. So what multiplies to 9? What multiplies to 9 and adds to -6? Well, it's got to be the same number twice. It always will be. That's why it's a perfect square trinomial. So that's going to be -3 and -3. -3 minus 3 is -6, and -3 times -3 is positive 9. So I can factor that as x minus 3, quantity squared, and then -7 minus 9. So I'm starting negative and going further negative. That's -16. So if I wanted to, I'm not asking for it, but I could. The vertex right here is a positive 3, comma, -16. Remember, it's always opposite on the inside of the parentheses, and it's exactly what you see on the outside. Okay, the next is factored form. So I'm going to rewrite the polynomial, minus 6x minus 7, and I need to find 2 numbers that multiply to the c value, which is -7, and add to the b, which is -6. So my 2 numbers are -7 and positive 1. -7 times 1 is -7, and -7 plus 1 is -6. So I first need to write them as the factors, and then I can actually solve for the polynomials, or for the actual x-intercepts. So because this is -7, make that connection over here to -7, positive 1, make the connection to positive 1. But I want to solve for the x-intercepts, so what I can do is I have to set both the factors equal to 0 separately, and then solve for x. Add 7 to both sides, so I get x equals positive 7, that's an x, sorry, and subtract 1, and I get x equals -1. So if I really wanted the x-intercepts, I could write them as 7, 0, and -1, 0. Okay, let's take a look at the second form, vertex form. So now we're given this vertex, and we need to rewrite in standard and factored. But the first thing is always, what information do you get? We'll take the example from above, right here with 3, -16. I always look right here for the x value, which is -2, because it's opposite when it's inside the parentheses, and it's exactly what you see on the outside for the y value, so it's -9, which comes from right here. And now I'm going to rewrite in standard form. Well, if you look at your white sheet, the way to rewrite in standard form is to multiply it using the distributive property and then combine like terms. So if I have x plus 2 quantity squared minus 9, remember, squaring something is multiplying by itself. So I'm going to take the step and write out this x plus 2 times x plus 2. Because a lot of you guys might forget it's not distributing the squared. I'm actually multiplying x plus 2 times x plus 2. And now I'm going to distribute. X times x gives me x squared. X times 2 gives me 2x. 2 times x gives me 2x, and 2 times 2 gives me 4. And then don't forget that minus 9. Let's combine like terms. 2x and 2x gives me 4x, and 4 and -9 gives me a -5. Here is my standard form. And now I can figure out the y-intercept and the direction. Okay? Over here, factored form. Well, the reason why I asked for standard form first is because I need to take this standard form and rewrite in factor. If I look at my big white sheet, the reason why standard form is in the middle is because if I ever want to transfer from vertex all the way over to factor, or factored form all the way over to vertex form, I need to get standard form first. Okay, so now that we have standard form, now we can actually factor it. What 2 numbers multiply to -5, which is the c, and add to positive 4? Well, that's going to be a positive 5. That's a terrible, terrible 5. Give me a second to rewrite that. A positive 5 and a -1. Okay, so positive 5, negative 1. 5 minus 1 is positive 4, and 5 times negative 1 is a negative 5. So now I'm going to rewrite it as the factors first. And then if I wanted to solve the x-intercepts, I could. We can do it just like the problem before, but all it says is rewrite in factored form. So now if I take a look at this problem, I have my vertex, I can figure out my opening direction and my y-intercept, and I have my two x-intercepts, all the information I need. One more, the last one, given in factored form. So the first thing is finding those x-intercepts. So the first thing I got to do is take the two x-intercepts, or to the factors, and set them equal to 0 so I can solve for x. So I get x equals negative 3. And add 5, x equals positive 5. So my two x-intercepts are negative 3, comma 0, and 5, comma 0. And now it says rewrite in factored form. Well, if you look at your big white sheet, the way to rewrite in factored form is just to do exactly what you'd normally think. Multiply it out. Use the distributive property. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Let's combine like terms right here. X squared, a negative 5x plus 3x is a negative 2x minus 15, and now we have standard form. I could figure out the y-intercept right here and the direction of opening from the lead coefficient. Now it says rewrite in vertex form. So remember what we just talked about. To go from one side to the other, I have to go to standard form first. That's why we did standard form first. And now let's take our standard form and rewrite in vertex form. The first thing we always do to rewrite in vertex form is using complete the square, is I have to put the blanks. So x squared minus 2x plus blank minus 15 plus another blank. Now let's figure out what goes in the blanks here. So let me get some space. I always take the negative 2. Negative 2 over 2, quantity squared, because it's b over 2 squared. If you don't know where that comes from, there's a little formula right there, b over 2 squared. Let's simplify what's in the parentheses, so I get negative 1 squared, and that equals a positive 1. So that's what goes in the blank, positive 1. But remember, if I add positive 1, I have to subtract 1 as well, because they need to be opposites. I don't want to change the value of this expression. So now I can factor this perfect square trinomial. So it's going to be the same number twice, remember. So what two numbers multiply to positive 1 and add to negative 2? That's the same number twice. That's negative 1. So I'm going to factor this as x minus 1 squared. Let's combine like terms right here. Negative 15 minus 1 more is negative 16. And if I wanted to, I could find the vertex right here with positive 1, because it's always opposite inside the parentheses, and a negative 16 is the y value. So take a look. These are all the types of questions I might ask for your quiz. Quick video. Make sure you can do every single part of this, any single part. Go from factored to standard, from standard to vertex, from vertex back to standard, and so forth, all the way around. Make sure you understand the important information that's looking right here, what I can get from standard form, what I can get from vertex form, and what I can get from x-intercepts. If you do not have that white sheet, you can check. It is a PDF on Schoology. You can print it out. It might be harder to visualize, but you can at least print out and get a lot of the actual skills in front of you. Okay, so good luck. Make sure you take this time, and good luck on Park if you're a freshman taking the test Monday and Tuesday. Have a great day, guys.